So, you want to get better with Peni? Well, this is going to be the video for you. I'm going to go over her basic abilities and give some advanced tips and tricks, as she is one of the hardest tanks to play correctly in the entire game. Before this video starts and we get into the basics of Peni, I just want to thank everyone who watched my previous video on Loki. It will be linked in the description below. I've never gotten a video to reach over 1,000 views before, so that's a big milestone for me personally. So thank you for everyone who watched, commented, giving me feedback, helping me make my channel and my content better. Yeah, if you like this video, like, subscribe, throw me a comment of who you want me to make a video on next. I'm going to be going over her basic abilities for people who don't necessarily know about the character, but if you already know how she plays, just skip to this point in the video, this timestamp, and that will take you right to the advanced tips portion of the video. Okay, starting with the basic of basic, we have Peni's base stats. She has 650 health, moves at 6 meters a second, and her primary fire is called Cyber Web Cluster. It's an okay primary fire. When you compare it to other heroes, it's not necessarily the best, but it's more just consistent damage output. Being able to shoot indefinitely without reloading is its strongest asset. Next up, we have Arachno Mine. This is a small mine that you can throw out that will deal 100 damage to an enemy once it is armed. It has a 3-meter radius. It can damage multiple enemies, and you have 4 charges at a time, so you can spam them all out or use them as you want. But as to my knowledge, I don't believe they despawn. They either have to go off, be destroyed by the enemy, or destroyed by the payload of some sort, or environmental damage. Next up, we have Cyber Bond. This allows you to shoot out your web, binding yourself to it and kind of keeping you hunkered down in an area. As you start moving away, you'll move slower, but as soon as you stop moving, you will be pulled right back to where you initially put the web. I really only use this to get out of spawn faster, as it allows you to kind of fly to an area. Movement, since Peni's movement is fairly limited, this is what I use to move around the map, get out of sticky situations, things like that. But it also coincides immediately into her next ability. That next ability is Cyber Web Snare. This is Peni's most versatile ability. You shoot at a web that you can spider bind to. When you use spider bind, it automatically creates a web, but you can also do it this way, where you shoot at a web and then you bind to it. You can shoot it at an enemy to stun them for 0.7 seconds. Anytime you're standing in one of your spider webs, you will receive passive healing, 25 health per second, and any excess healing over your max health will be turned into temp HP to a maximum of 150 health. It only being on a 3-second cooldown means you should be using this as much as you can to stun enemies, provide yourself more healing, and extending the range of your next ability. That next ability being your Bionic Spider Nest. This creates a massive web that periodically spawns these tinier mines that do 40 damage instead of your placeable mines that do 100. Just like your other webs, these webs will heal you, and anytime an enemy steps in this big web, your mines will auto-track to them and explode on impact. Now, a cool thing is you can use your smaller webs that stun enemies. You can place them on the ground, and if they're touching the giant web your nest creates, it will actually allow your smaller mines to track further. It will essentially extend the range of your nest. And then finally, we come to Peni's ultimate, Spider Sweeper. This gives you a movement speed boost and instantly 450 temp HP. It allows you to run super fast, place mines with your alternate fire, and your primary fire will hit enemies, dealing some damage and launching them up into the air. If you use it while your nest is up and you are able to connect all of your little webs together, you can increase your mine generation by allowing the mines from your nest to hit enemies and deal additional damage. Now that we know how to play Peni, I'm going to go over the advanced tips. We'll start off with her weaknesses, her strengths, then we'll move on to how to play her in specific game modes, and then we'll move on to specific styles of play she counters and how to play her most effectively. Peni is the pinnacle of the anchor playstyle. She likes to sit in a single location, not really advance too much, not get into the enemy team, and just pick away at them until they eventually fall down. Now, what is one of her biggest weaknesses? Well, I'd probably say upfront rush damage. The entire enemy team coming at you at once is usually not very good, especially when you're out of position. Making sure you are in the right position so you can deal good damage, stay safe, and make sure that the enemy team can't just jump on you and obliterate you instantly is one of the most important parts of playing Peni. It might seem like you can get overwhelmed, but if you're staying next to your nest, you're putting those mines out there and you're stunning enemies constantly, they're going to have a very, very hard time breaking you from your anchor point. Characters Peni has a problem with include characters like Wolverine, simply because she's a tank and that damage plus percent based off your overall health hurts a lot. Any character that does really solid melee damage or long range damage like Magic, Hela, Hawkeye, all of the tank busters Peni typically does have a problem with. Even strategists like Adam Warlock and Mantis can sometimes give her trouble just because of their sheer damage output. And those long-range characters, if they know what they're doing, like to target your nest. And targeting Peni's nest is the easiest way to get her to crumble. Overall, I'd say Peni's biggest weakness is taking on multiple enemies when you are not in a good position. So if you're taking on 2 to 3 characters at once, which I know it sounds like, well, yeah, it makes sense, you're probably going to go down. That's really the only surefire way to get rid of a good Peni. You have to stack all of your resources at once, all attack her at once, focus down her nest, and then you can actually begin to work on Peni, because the damage from the mines that her nest creates and the ones that she can put down, along with her stunning you, shooting you, things like that, she has so much area control that it's really all she has, being honest. She leans so heavily into controlling her space, and her space is, once you break it, she is effectively useless. Now, you can get out and then wait for your cooldown to come back, but most of the time if that nest gets destroyed and you're getting overwhelmed, you will usually die. Moving on, Peni loves sitting in one place and just holding that choke, making sure enemies don't pass, or what she's really, really good at is protecting her team from dives. Since you have your nest that covers quite a large area and it's constantly producing mines, until I think about 7 or 8 is when, once they're all produced, they'll just sit there. You can protect your backline, whether it be, your long-range duelists or your strategists that are sitting behind your team. You can protect them reasonably well just with your nest alone. Being able to set up shop and control the pace of the fight pretty frequently is a super, super strong way to play the game. Characters Peni is particularly good against are your dive tanks like Venom, Hulk, Captain America. Thor is here or there depending on how good they are and how good you are. Your dive supports like Iron Fist, Spider-Man, Psylocke, kinda. Psylocke's really, really good right now, but she gets into your backline. She's not really that scary for you particularly. So defending your team from dives, keeping a strong presence in the game, and making sure that you control the pace are things that Peni is, in my opinion, on the Vanguard class, the best in the entire game. Now moving on to specific game modes, Conquest and Domination. We'll start off with Conquest because that is Peni's strongest game mode. With Conquest, you push a payload and you are either on the attacking or defending team. Peni by far is stronger on defense. Being able to set up shop and just hold a choke is the easiest way to play her, and the most value you'll get out of her is when you're on Conquest Defense. Being able to just hold a point and protect that area with your team is so much easier when the enemy is coming to you. Finding a good spot to put your nest down where it's out of the line of sight of the enemy team, but it also provides a good strategical advantage for you and your team to hit them with your mines, and also give you good peeking angles so you can continue to deal damage to build your ult, is a lot easier on defense. You can also use your placeable mines, the ones that do 100 damage instead of the ones spawned by your actual mine generator. You can set so many more of them up and put them in important chokeholds, so you're just either taking down the enemy or they walk over 2 or 3 of them. The average character has around 250 health. They just get blown up immediately. Overall, I love playing her on defense, and she is a go-to pick whenever I'm playing Vanguard. Conquest Attack is a little different though. You have to kind of change up your entire playstyle. Instead of hunkering down and just defending a location, you want to try and set up a strategic position and just tick away, and build that ultimate. You can see right there, I placed down a web to attempt to extend the range of my nest, and then I stun that Iron Fist to just eliminate him immediately. That is how you have to play on attack. You have to be very passive, but also work towards taking away the enemy team. And the biggest way you can do that is by chucking your mines at the enemy team. You don't have to put them on walls. You throw them at the enemy team, dealing damage to them and getting them off of point so you can take a more strategic position. It's all about moving up, dealing damage, and then as long as your nest hasn't taken any damage, you can destroy it yourself, and like I did there, replace it. Stunning the enemy team is very important on attack. Trying to have your allies utilize that important positioning, and then right here I actually placed a bunch of mines so that Thor, when he tried to retreat back to his team, would walk into them. Placing your mines in strategic locations is, if you can, optimal because it's a surefire hit. But when the enemy is holding good ground, placing them in places where you know they will walk, or just throwing it right on top of them so by the time it arms it'll explode and deals damage to them, is how you are going to want to operate on attack. Since you can't control where the enemy goes because you are coming to them, using your mines and your stun on cooldown is so important. I cannot understate that. You need to be taking initiative, throwing those mines out, trying to stun people whenever you can, and when you're not stunning people, if you don't have your nest in a good spot, because on Conquest Attack the objective is constantly moving, you need to be throwing down some of your alternate fire webs onto the ground so you can still receive that additional healing and then get that overhealth. Right here you can see that I know the payload's moving up, so I'm pushing my web even further up because the enemy team has to come attack. If they don't touch payload, they lose, which they didn't. Even if they did try to, I was going to ult to just prevent that entirely. So overall, positioning is key on attack, gaining it from experience, learning the places to put your nest where it won't be destroyed, but it also will gain maximum value, just like on defense. It's just a different kind of mindset you have to have. You have to be passive and not take too much ground, but you also have to push the enemy team, throw out those mines, and when you get a pick, jump on it. Now, Domination is the hardest game mode to play Peni on because you kind of have to do the same thing that you do on Attack and Defense Conquest, but in a single match. So here I'm moving towards objective, and you can think of it like on Conquest Attack, I'm moving to take the payload, the objective. It's the same thing where you're shooting your mines at the enemy and putting your spider nest in a strategic location so you can get value out of it. As soon as you take the objective, you then switch over to your defensive mindset where you're putting it down and launching mines into the enemy's spawn, into a chokehold where the enemies are going to come out of. That is the hard part about Domination. You have to switch your mindset between attacking and defending. Here's a perfect example of what I mean. So I died and I'm coming back to point the enemy is currently taking. So I throw my mines out there and then I set up my nest so I can, start healing, everything like that. My Luna Snow ults, so I take some initiative. I start pushing up, I throw more mines. I destroy my nest to place it closer to the actual objective. And at that point we get a pick, we start rolling a little bit, and we retake the entire point. Now I'm in defense mode. I'm going to destroy my nest again and replace it on the actual objective and put some of my cyber webs down to create more area that they can touch. So I'm on defense, I'm throwing my mines out, and that's just an example of how fast you have to change your mindset, change the way you think. I'm holding objective now, I'm anchored to objective. I'm not going to push where the rest of my team is because I'm strongest on objective. That's where my character thrives. Other characters, they dive and they are really good at doing that. I will push when I have my ultimate due to it just being strong and I get over health and putting more mines up, but that is the only situation where I will push, because as soon as my ultimate ends, look, I'm right back on objective, defending it, doing my job. I'm gonna stun this Peni, lock her down with some mines, get a bunch of kills, the whole shebang. We end up winning this match, or at least this part of the domination match, and that was just one of the key examples of defense into offense, or offense into defense, and then into offense again, and then back into defense. Just showing you how fast you have to change your mindset when playing Domination with Peni. Moving on to our final topic is optimizing your play and how to counter difficult situations. Now, especially on Domination, this is really good because this is a very, very, very hard game mode for Peni. For this round, I'm basically just going to talk through what I'm thinking here and everything like that. So, positioning my nest so it can be in a good area. Object interactions will destroy it, things on the map. So currently I'm just trying to establish, a good power position on this objective so I can move and, do my thing. I'm extending my range with my net there, and something you're going to want to do with other Penis is immediately try to identify where their nest is. If you have a Peni on the enemy team, you need to find out where her nest is and destroy it, because that will immediately lessen her impact. She will no longer be able to do what you can do, and you will increase your chances of winning the fight there. As for optimizing how you play, just don't be aggressive. Peni is a very passive character. A lot of her kit is built around having the enemy come to you, so take advantage of that. If you're defending a point, you don't have to get super aggressive. The only time I would suggest you do be aggressive is like me right now, using my ult with my nest to gain increased value from said ult, creating those webs and basically dotting the entire area with them. So every time I drop a web with my ult, it drops 2 mines, and then my nest is also creating 2 mines that will travel across my nets, or my webs, to the enemy. Really, Peni is a very, very passive character. Only be aggressive with her ult. You can try and finish kills, but positioning is almost more important than getting kills with Peni. Having a good position and being able to anchor for your team will end up winning you more games than you'll realize. In hero shooters in general, it's important to track what the enemy team has, what ults they have coming online, and what characters they have, so you can know which ult they're going to be using. Your ult does not do a lot of upfront damage. It's more about sustaining yourself and controlling an area. So if they have a Luna Snow, a Mantis, or even a Jeff that can eat you with his ult, knowing when to use your own ult and maybe saving it for a time where, you know, they're not going to have their ult, or right after they've used it, is very, very, very important if you want to maximize the amount of value you're getting. So, what have we learned about Peni today? Well, she's the best anchor tank in the game, super good at holding choke points and preventing the enemy team from doing what they want to do. She hard counters dive, you know, characters like Iron Fist, Spider-Man, all those characters that have to jump right into your minefield, she does really, really well against, but she is weak to the longer range hitscan characters as they do a lot of damage to you and can potentially take out your nest. I really appreciate it if you made it to the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what character you want me to cover next. I think I'm planning on either Wolverine or Iron Man, but if someone shoots a comment of a character they want me to do next, I'll definitely hop right on that. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I've been Choso's dad. See you later.